Going well for the Nifty Bank in particular and the Nifty. The IT index can't say much about that. So let's talk about all things commodities. Manisha Gupta recently caught up with David Kellie, who's the CEO of National Diamond Council, to put focus on the diamond sector and the Indian jewellery market. Began by asking him about the overall diamond market. It's extremely crucial given the sort of decline that we've seen in diamond prices, largely on account of the rise of lab-grown diamonds. Listen in and we come back.
Markets around the world are all very different. There are times when all the global economies seem to work together as one, and there are times when they all seem to be different. So each of those markets, as you said, is very different. The great news is that India is the hottest market for diamonds and jewellery at the moment. So it's great being here and spending time here in India. China is still challenged economically, and that's affecting all of the market there in terms of both diamonds, jewellery, luxury, etc. So China is still challenged. The US market, there are really two markets. There's the high-end market, which is still doing incredibly well, predominantly natural diamonds and jewellery, and that's because people are buying from wealth, and the markets are doing very well. So the wealth markets are contributing to that. But then at the mid-tier, it's more challenging because people are buying from income. And clearly disposable income has become more challenged with inflation and cost of living. So each market is very, very different, and each is changing at a different rate. So it's something to try and aggregate them all together is challenging. But yeah, so we follow each of the markets individually.
David, the other thing also is about the diamond prices itself, and there have been various reports put out on how the diamond prices are considerably off its highs. So from where we stand, and yes, this also is about rough diamonds and caratage, depending on that as well, have the prices stabilised now?
Yeah, I mean, we think they have. I think people talk about prices, but it's really important to be clear what we're talking about. Retail prices fluctuate far less than prices in the value chain. It is a product, it's a natural product that is recovered from the ground. Each diamond is individual, so you don't always know what's going to be recovered, etc. So it's inevitable that within the value chain you get fluctuations, and those fluctuations are much greater than the retail pricing. It's worth remembering it's only 2 years since we were off a record high, and so we had an amazing time, following the pandemic. And so this is just part of a natural cycle of peaks and troughs that happens in the value chain, but it's far less impactful at retail and for consumers than it is than some of the headlines that we see, which simply are factors of much of the supply chain being based here in India.
So, David, as you said, Indian jewellery demand seems to be doing quite well right now. And we've seen also that from just being polishing and cutting rough diamonds, the consumption within India also seems to be increasing. Are there any numbers that you're working with on how much consumption is India looking at of diamonds? What is the growth that we could see?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we spoke last at the beginning of the year, we were kind of looking at a kind of a high single-digit to low double-digit number this year for India. We don't have any, finite data at the moment on that, but I think that projection would still hold true. So, and at those kind of numbers, it would be the largest, growth market in the world.
And then there also are G7 restrictions. The Kimberley process is on as well, and there's lots going around in diamonds as far as Russia is concerned, and the changing, map in that sense. How would you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's challenging for the value chain. It's challenging with the G7 sanctions, but it doesn't really affect the consumer. The consumer still loves diamonds, still buying diamonds, and they don't really consider all of these. Where do they come from? How are they segregated? What are the sanctions? That doesn't really come into their discussion. We follow social media conversations in each market all the time, and although the industry is obsessed with these discussions, it doesn't really flow through to the consumer. So it creates challenges within the industry, but it doesn't really affect the end consumption of diamond jewellery. And
then how are you dealing with the lab-grown diamonds?
Yeah, I mean, lab-grown diamonds, obviously the biggest market is the US. They haven't really penetrated into China and India in anything like the same way. It's still a fraction of of the market of natural diamonds. In the US, they're finding the challenge of retailers now not having the profit from them. Now, lab-grown diamonds prices have collapsed by almost 95%. So now retailers have the challenge of the profit margins and are now saying to us, look, we need to be selling more natural diamonds because we have to get that business back if we're going to sustain ourselves. So again, there's big changes happening in the marketplace, but the biggest market is America, and we're seeing a real challenge amongst retailers as to how to get back to really advocating for the values of natural diamonds.
Going forward now, the second half of the year is always the time that you see demand increasing, especially in Indian markets. We are within festivities now. The wedding season starts, goes up to Diwali, and then clearly in the other markets also it's going to be about Christmas and New Year as well. Are you looking at increase in demand? Any numbers that you have at hand?
Yeah, we don't have, it's always difficult to project demand. As you said, each market has got the festival season, the holiday season in the US, the Chinese New Year, so it is a very, very important time for the industry. Very difficult to predict. There's a lot of volatility. Most big markets had elections this year and a lot of things happening in the market. So we still think very positively about the market. We speak with retailers all the time and hear what their consumers are saying. So we feel very positive about it, but very difficult to put numbers to that sentiment.
David, would you say as a final statement that the worst for the prices or the demand is behind us?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. I mean, as I said, if you look back over history, prices in this market in the long term always go up. But it's always cyclical within the market. So someone said to me yesterday, is now a good time to be buying diamonds? I said, well, my wife will tell me every time is a good time to buy diamonds. But I think if you're looking at them from an investment perspective, from wanting to buy at the bottom, I think now would be a very good time to buy them.
Right, promoting diamonds once again, saying that maybe a good time to buy from an investment standpoint, but from a consumption standpoint, any time is a good time. That's the word coming in from the National Diamonds Council executive. With that, we've run out of time on this edition of Halftime Report. You stay tuned. Business Lunch will take all the market action ahead.